Darkcast Network. Out of the shadows come the best indie podcasts.
Hi, my name is Mallory Jenner Robinson. Join me on A Hateful Homicide, a true crime and investigative journalism podcast dedicated to telling the stories regarding the murders and hate crimes of our transgender, non-binary, intersex, and two-spirit community members in the United States and abroad. This is A Hateful Homicide.
Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way.
Mountain Murders is an Appalachian true crime podcast. Some content may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
We say fuck a lot.
Hold me now, that I'm 6 feet from the edge and I'm thinking, let me say, 6 feet ain't so far down.
Oh,
man. Do you remember Creed, Heather?
Unfortunately, I do. Man, I'm telling you, back in the day, so that song came out in like 2001.
Very.
These are like my college days. And I remember Creed was like all over the campus radio station.
It was America's band.
And I had a buddy, he drove a little Cavalier, and he would rock some Creed in the Cavalier.
Right.
And everybody would be jamming.
So that song never made any sense to me. I'm like, so are you from, you're saying
sense.
You're 6 feet from the edge and now you're thinking that 6 feet ain't so far down. So you need to move 6 feet to get to where you fall off. How far is it you fall? Because I mean,
well, it seems that he's indicating it's only 6 feet down. So I'm like, well,
yeah.
It's not really that far.
It's not
anyway,
so
sir.
far down.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay, Captain Observation.
I think we may get blowback for this, but we were listening to some Pearl Jam the other day on a satellite radio there. You can literally mumble your way through. We decided that Pearl Jam wasn't that good. It just hit at the right moment, and we thought it was back then.
Dude, and I was a big Pearl Jam fan.
Me too.
Had the T-shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Creed is the 2000s Pearl Jam. Yeah, he's the modern.
But then earlier we were in the car, and I was listening to my satellite radio. I was listening to some hip-hop. And you can't understand anything they're saying either. So it's just like this mumbly, mushmouth music.
And it's kind of whiny. You know, and I know we had grunge and we had a pop rock and we had Green Day and we had all that. We were whiny too. We had the 2000s rock. I mean, gosh, alternative.
The 2000s really did not rock, I should add.
We whined a lot. So back in the day before the 2000s. But it's just, what's happened to music? I'm not sure. Like pop kind of sucks.
Country really sucks.
Country is not country.
No.
It's like country pop, and rock doesn't even exist now. I'm not sure what they even try to call rock.
Exactly. Are there rock bands out there?
We had Dr. Dre, Snoop, Biggie, Tupac, Wu-Tang, KRS-One. God, I mean, I could go on. And now what do we have in rap? I mean, it's just, oh gosh,
mumbly stuff.
Anyway.
And I hear like, okay. And then I move on. So the mumble rap shit, it's like, blah, 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 and I like rap music. But I can't understand anything they're saying. And then all of a sudden I'll recognize a lyric or a word. And I'm like, did he just say chicken nugget? Like, it's just the most random shit that doesn't make sense in a song.
And now when I say I can't understand what the rapper's saying, that makes me feel old, but
Yes.
I grew up listening to rap.
Yes.
I've listened to rap my entire adult life, including now. So I don't think that's really coming from some old codger's point of view. I literally don't know what the fuck they're saying.
You know what this is called?
What?
These are the breaks.
All right, welcome to Mountain Murders.
Okay, hey, I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Hey, y'all.
How are you
We're
doing?
feeling very sassy today.
Yeah, we've been listening to the satellite radios.
I paid my $5 a month, and it's
That's right.
jamming. It's jamming.
That's right.
Dylan, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Man, I'm glad to be back in the driver's seat, ready to cruise around some true crime today. Honk,
Ooh.
honk.
Damn, did you? Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you can also find Mountain Murders on a certain satellite radio app.
Nice.
Yep, we're there.
That's
So when
pretty
you-
awesome.
So when you pay your $5 a month for your satellite radio,
I think that's the only satellite radio.
you can pretty much find us on there and Bluetooth us in if you'd like.
Oh, I love it. She looks us up and she'll be like, we're there. I'm like, what? We're everywhere.
Feels kind of fancy.
It does feel
You
fancy.
can find me on satellite radio.
So we just been, cruising through life,
You just stole my cruising around some true crime.
Well, yeah, but yeah, while we're cruising through life, just making it,
I'm looking for some curb service. Okay, while I'm cruising through life, I'm ready for somebody to bring the damn hot fudge cake to my window or something.
You don't even want to go inside.
Never.
Isn't that great that, Americans just really leaned into the drive-through? I don't even have to go through the trouble of walking
Now
in.
we've leaned into DoorDash. Like, you don't even have to leave your house, and people will just bring the treats to you.
And you know what? Sometimes I think DoorDash can get a little pricey, and they seem to be trying to address that with some little deals you can do now, or have a little pass, if you will, or some places have no-fee DoorDash. But I gotta say, it's kind of like magic.
Well, the other night, you said, I give DoorDash a lot of shit, but it's pretty awesome to open the door and there's hot food
Yeah.
waiting for me.
And she's like, it's here. And so I opened the door expecting, like, to talk to the person and have to be like, it's the pizza delivery person. No. They were already, like, halfway down the block, and there's just hot food sitting on my step and perfectly packaged. I was like, all right, I see the magic now.
That was a delicious toasted sub, huh?
It was.
Did you like that?
All right, so what are we going to get into today, Heather?
Well, it's not the history of Creed.
Ah.
I can tell you that. Are you ready to get into this episode, Dylan?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? I got my arms wide open. All right, that's it. I'll stop. But I can sing. Creed's also one of those. You're by yourself. Everybody knows the lyrics, and you will belt it out.
I turn the station, to be honest.
That's a lie.
No, I do. But if it's a certain Nickelback song, I might jam along.
Hey, that was another. They were America's band. Nickelback,
Or
Creed,
like 3 Doors Down.
3 Doors Down. It's funny, these bands are just go mega huge worldwide, and they have to make a ton of money unless they're just total idiots with their contracts and stuff. And then later on, people are like, this sucks so bad. And I'm like, well, whatever, dude. For like 8 years, that's all you heard.
It's true.
So you can't say that. You might just not have liked them, but they didn't suck that bad because people loved them.
Okay.
That's my
I was
take.
going to say something mean about you, but I'm not going to.
Oh.
I was going to say, well, you suck so bad, and I still like you.
Well,
Oh!
And I haven't made a ton of money, so.
That's true. Yeah. A forensic psychiatrist named Park Dietz coined the term family annihilator in the 1980s. Most recently, it was used to describe Alec Murdaugh at his trial. The pressure mounts and someone becomes a family annihilator, is what Dietz said. Often these killings fall into 2 categories. One is the despondent familicidal offender, somebody who is very depressed, kills his family to save them from living in this horrible, cruel world.
Oh, so they're kind of a nihilistic view of the world, and it's like nothing matters.
Well, he does this act as a perceived mercy and often kills himself or tries to kill them, or they try to kill themselves. Like, oh, everything's just so bad. I don't want my family to have to live in this terrible world.
That's a very depressed view of the world.
Then there's like a paranoid familicidal offender who sees their family in a proprietary way, as with ownership. Sometimes the murder is triggered by jealousy, and it's a form of punishment. So they view their family as an item Like, this is something that belongs to me.
Okay.
Rather than these are individuals with their own hopes and dreams and wants and needs.
So a fairly narcissistic view of their family and an extension of themselves.
Yes.
And once they make a decision that I don't want you guys to proceed forward or without me, then I can kill you without remorse, because in the end, you're just basically my property.
Yeah.
Wow.
Family annihilators are largely and predominantly men. However, these are unique cases with different circumstances and facts and dynamics, so it can be hard to profile the killer, although studies have suggested they do share some traits.
Is that
like narcissism?
Is that the two main categories you're given there? Because I feel like there's another one, honestly, and I could be wrong, but there's a shame group.
Well, we're going to get into that.
Okay. Because like financial ruin.
Hold your peace, bud.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
We haven't gotten to the vows yet. Hold your peace. William Parente was born July 20th of 1949 to parents Willie and Rococolin in the Bay Ridge neighborhood of Brooklyn, New York City. And I have to say, Rococolin is such a cool name.
Is that
because of the Rococo period? I mean, I love the Rococo period with the beautiful fabrics and whatnot. But Rococolin.
Okay.
It's kind of a groovy name, dude.
That's awesome.
Considered a good neighborhood post-World War II, Bay Ridge offered low crime, affordable rent, and good schools. It is home to one of the largest Arab American communities in the United States, along with Norwegian, Irish, Italian, and Puerto Rican families.
A regular melting pot.
Yeah. Willie Parente was a New York State trooper, and his wife, Rococolin, was a stay-at-home mom. Bill was an only child and the apple of his parents' eye. So as a boy, Bill was considered intelligent and excelled academically. The Parentes wanted more for their son. They didn't really want him to be like working class, blue collar. His dad was a state trooper, but he didn't want his son to be a cop. Well, very smart kid. He's like, their wish was for him to go to college.
And most parents, your natural inclination should be to want more for your children. Even if you have a good, comfortable life or you work hard and try to give them everything, you want to give them, a platform and maybe try to make better choices.
Yeah, like a springboard into success.
As long as they're willing to spring with you.
American dream, bud.
Well, yeah, it's the American dream.
So they really urged Bill, and he's a really smart kid, to work toward, going to college. His wealthy uncle, Anthony J. Russo, offered to foot the bill. Basically, whatever college you get into, I'll pay for, which is a pretty awesome offer.
Right.
Wish I had an Uncle Anthony. Bill attended Brooklyn College and Brooklyn Law School. He graduated and passed the New York bar exam. Afterwards, Bill landed a job at a Manhattan law firm located on the Avenue of the Americas. And this is where he specialized in real estate law. Bill was highly respected by colleagues, considered sharp, and praised for his work ethic. In 1975, Bill met Betty Ann Mazzarella, known as Betty. The couple married in 1977. Betty was a devout Catholic and would later become a Eucharist minister, which permitted Betty to lead communion services without a priest. Like if the priest was out sick or something, she would be able to stand in.
So she's kind of like an assistant priest. Or assistant of the assistant priest.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Bill and Betty seldom missed Sunday Mass. The Parentes moved to a Tony upper middle class neighborhood in Garden City, Long Island, and they even had a beachfront condo in West Hampton. So they're, by all accounts, living the American dream. They're doing the thing, successful.
Yeah, doing a damn thing.
This was completed by the birth of their daughter Stephanie in 1989. With Betty expecting their first child, Bill opened up a private practice in 1988. For all his success, Bill remained incredibly grounded, according to people who knew him best. He was proud of his Italian heritage, often visiting the old neighborhood in Bay Ridge where he'd grown up. Like he would take his family out for a good meal in the neighborhood. He brought his daughters, including Stephanie and Catherine, who was born in 1997, to the area for Halloween. So he's got these two little girls, and he brings them back to the old neighborhood to do the trick-or-treating. Yeah,
and that's fun. And that's all. He probably enjoys being in the neighborhood. He feels comfortable. That's somewhere you take your children to have fun.
Bill was known as a family man by friends and business associates. Anytime a person would ask about his daughters, they say Bill would just light up. Like, he loved to talk about his girls, would brag about them, very proud of his girls. When Betty was diagnosed with breast cancer, friends noted that Bill, quote, broke down, that his wife and kids were his world. Betty was a beloved member of the Garden City community, and she was known for having a wonderful sense of humor as well as, quote, true inner spirituality. Betty's generous spirit included volunteering and charitable work. She spent countless hours working with the Girl Scouts, United Cerebral Palsy Auxiliary, and the Children's Medical Fund. She was also a member of the Garden City Welcome Club. Neighbors recalled how around Thanksgiving, Betty would make apple and pumpkin pies for the neighbors.
Oh, wow. I wish Betty was my neighbor.
You have great neighbors.
No, we do have great neighbors, but, you know, I'm just saying.
I'll make you a pie.
If we had another neighbor who made pumpkin and apple pies all the time.
Well, I'll make you a pie.
Well, you do make pies. I'm not discounting your pies.
You're insulting my pie.
I want pie now.
You don't want to eat my pie.
I love your pie.
Huh. It's fine. You ain't getting no pie.
I'll put some whipped cream on it.
Yeah, that I make. You're welcome. Bill was also devoted to his aging mother, furthering his reputation as this very principled family man. Bill's work associates knew him as dependable, solid, and trustworthy. He had an exemplary legal career, and Bill's word was his bond. So when he started seeking out investors in the late 1990s for this finance company that he wanted to start, there were many people interested. His idea was bridging finance to property developers, often in projects that were still pending approval. Now, this carried a significant risk, but it opened up a niche that was underserved by traditional banking institutions. So it allowed Parente to charge subprime rates on debt that was far less risky than, I guess, actual subprime loans, if that makes sense.
Okay, so he's found a little segment that no one will really deal with, right? And so he's kind of cornering the market.
Well, people found this particularly less risky also because they factored in Bill's legal expertise and his real estate background. He seemed very knowledgeable on this type of subject matter. And the upside was outstanding. Parente was offering investors returns of 10 to 15%. And
that's very high.
Yeah. We know what happens.
That's astonishingly high.
We know what happens when
it's almost too good to be true.
When people are offered this. What's that usually a sign of, Dylan?
It's some kind of a scheme, and likely a Ponzi scheme.
Bing, bing, bing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can talk all day about some Ponzi schemes, bud, because American Greed is one of my jams.
It's your favorite podcast.
It is. Hi, I'm Stacy Keach. I just like his voice. I like Stacy Keach's voice.
I see that.
You know, actually,
you light up when you talk about Stacy Keach.
I heard an interview with him about American Greed, and he actually created like a character. It's not just him doing some dialogue, reading it off. He actually created like this guy, the American Greed guy, to talk about that, and it really comes through.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome.
Stacy Keach has an amazing mustache.
Well, yeah. And a good voice.
Sometimes you're right.
No, but anytime you have someone offering higher returns than any other institution, than any of the big boys, than any bank, it's, I would say almost always, but it's always too good to be true. And they're just suckering you in.
I'm just, I feel like I'm just way too skeptical of anybody. I'm not going to hire a financial advisor. I'm not going to let people invest for me. I'm not going to put my money... No, my money's going to stay in a little jar under my bed.
I know what to do with my $200 I'm going to make it through the week on. I don't need you. I don't need you to invest my money. No, but I
just don't trust anybody.
Well, look, if you do find yourself in a scheme here's how they hook you. Because they actually give you some payments. They give you returns as the money continues to flow in, especially at the beginning. If you have someone who's a great salesman, the money comes in fast. And so the earliest investors, they get these huge returns. They'll be like, wow, they'll get some quarterly statements, or they'll get sometimes the returns aren't even real. They just get statements stating the terms. Sometimes they actually get checks. And they're like, wow, I can't believe I really lucked up this time. This is going to, and they start pouring more money into it. See, you get that fever. You're like, wow, I've stumbled upon this really great opportunity. And I was in for 10,000. Now I'm in for 500,000. And it just keeps feeding this machine. But it never lasts. It's a house of cards.
Like I said, I ain't giving nobody my money.
I don't have any to give them.
Well, if I did, I wouldn't hand it over.
I wouldn't either.
They say timing is everything in business. Bill Parente got in at the right time because in the early 2000s, America saw a huge housing boom. I think a lot of us remember this. Money was easy to come by and credit vetting was non-existent as financial institutions gorged themselves on these subprime loans, which, of course, we all know ended badly in 2008 when everybody lost their ass.
You know, yeah. When I found out that, okay, Joe Schmo gets a loan, a mortgage from a bank. You go to your local bank down the road. You think you're dealing with them. But then when I figured out they're bundling my mortgage and my debt up with the other 1,000 people at that bank, and then with another 10 banks, so now it's, 10,000 mortgages, and they're selling them off in pieces in this big junk bond. With all this high risk, and they're selling it off into pieces into these. I mean, once they describe that whole scenario, you're
like, how is this even legal?
Yes.
How
is this legal? And why were you not disclosing any of this to me, Joe Schmo, who my house is riding on this shit? Now I'm tied up with all this financial instrument that you guys have created to milk money that doesn't even exist out of the system for. I mean, it just sounds fucking criminal.
Well, when the bubble burst up in was it like 2007, 8?
Yep.
I was working in real estate, and when I first started that company, we had 11 offices, and by the time I left, we were down to one office.
So you saw the devastation up close.
I mean, so many people had gotten these, especially ARM, adjustable rate mortgage loans. They were handing those things out like crazy, and so people would get, this deal. I mean, you'd have people making, $30,000 and get a loan for like $600,000. Like, you knew they would. How did you ever qualify for this?
Well,
and then their payment would balloon and jump from like $600 a month to like $3,000 a month, their mortgage, and they would be like, "Oh, I can't do this." So they're in this like underwater kind of upside down loan.
And they'd say, "Oh, don't worry about the fixed arm or the adjustable arm. You can always refi later."
Yes. That happened to so many people.
Yeah.
And then they were not able to refi and ended up like foreclosures happening. I mean, short sales, it was just a big mess.
It was insane. And honestly, I'm still kind of wondering how no one went to jail for that.
Yeah, I know.
Interesting.
Huh?
Here in America, we always want to look down our nose at people about, oh, we know the best way. But, in a lot of other countries, they hold people at the tops of these institutions, CEOs, the lead guys, they hold them accountable when this type of criminality is allowed to go on.
We have two justice systems in this world. There is like the white collar justice system, which means you're going to get a little slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
They're going to pat your little hand and tell you, "Guy, which bad." Right? And then there's the rest of everybody else.
I've never understood that because
they hold their feet to the fire.
$100 drug deal can catch me 5 years in jail. But a $5 billion scam perpetuated by somebody can get them, 10 years of probation.
18 months and probation.
Right.
Oh, and you're only going to serve 6 months in prison.
And one of those, the nicest federal prisons where they got tennis courts and shit.
Crazy how that works, huh? Well, Parente's financial offerings were a success, and investors enjoyed sizable returns. To them, Bill was a genius. Now, what investors didn't know or would never have suspected was Bill was playing them, Dylan. Playing them like a banjo. Yep.
He's playing them. He's juggling. He's, gosh, I've heard so many of these lately. It's ridiculous. I heard this wine guy. People would order the wine, and it would take like 5 years for their lot of wine to make it. But people would they would actually look at weather predictions where the vineyards were in France and stuff, and they would assume it's going to be just a perfect year for the wine. And the guy never even had the people's rare wines and shit.
He was just pouring some Arbor Mist into a bottle and
some
sealing
do
it up.
that. some do that.
This is the best peach Arbor Mist I've ever had.
And people are afraid to say it tastes like ass because it was a $50,000 bottle.
Hey, man, people who drink Arbor Mist really like it.
But he never would even have it, or he would claim he's keeping it, storing it in his ultra modern, environmentally controlled warehouse that didn't exist. And then people would, like, 4 years later, be like, shouldn't I have that wine I paid that guy $150,000 for? I don't get it. People get screwed over wine because there's a culture around that people really take advantage of.
Yeah, we've seen a couple documentaries on some wine scammers. It's wild.
So here he has this, everybody thinks he's a genius, and this is how it always starts. And he's paying out investors, and people are bringing friends and family on board as fast as they can convince them because, hey, you don't want to miss out. It's FOMO, fear of missing out. This is what really drove the crypto market into being.
Parente's investment fund had never generated the kind of returns people were getting. He was running a Ponzi scheme using funds from new investors to pay dividends to earlier investors. And it worked fine for a while when cash kept rolling in and no one was asking for their money back. No one was expecting the financial crash of 2008, and when things started to crumble, investigators began calling in their stakes. Parente held them off for as long as he could, but people became more demanding. Eventually, he was left with no choice. Bill had to start writing checks. Bruce Montague, a lawyer who had invested hundreds of thousands with Bill, repeated attempts to get his money. When he received 2 checks from Bill totaling $245,000, they bounced. The issues with these checks led to a complaint being filed with the New York State Attorney General's office. Stephanie Parente, known as Little Steph, was a sophomore at Loyola College in Maryland. Little Steph was a popular student who had been on the crew team her freshman year. The Parentes were very active parents who attended every regatta that season. A classmate, Abigail Gosh, said, quote, "It was weird for a family to be at every single regatta, but they just wanted to see their daughter." Bill and Betty were very proud of Stephanie, who studied speech-language pathology at the private Catholic school. Stephanie aspired to become a dentist and was looking forward to studying abroad in England for the fall semester. Catherine, who was 11 at the time, was attending Garden City Middle School, and she was also a popular student. She played lacrosse, basketball, soccer. The Parentes never missed their daughter's activities and just relished in their achievements. And though Bill was this busy, successful, businessman, he never missed any activities, like anything his daughters were doing. He was always there, always made time for the family.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
On Wednesday, April 15th of 2009, just 3 days after the Easter holiday, Bill told his wife Betty that they were taking a road trip to Maryland to visit Stephanie. The family had made this 215-mile road trip numerous times before. Their road trips were fun, and everyone looked forward to seeing Stephanie, including 11-year-old Catherine. The Parentes arrived in Towson, Maryland later that evening and checked into the Sheraton Baltimore North Hotel, booking a stay through Monday, April 19th. Stephanie was surprised by her family's visit, but was delighted to see them. Since she had signed up to study abroad, Stephanie took every opportunity to spend time with her family. So on Friday, Bill and Betty attended a campus meeting. And on Saturday, April 18th, Stephanie had breakfast with her family at a popular restaurant, and she was spotted in the afternoon at a lacrosse game. The following day, which was Sunday, Stephanie met her parents for breakfast again. She had a big chemistry exam on Monday and returned to her dorm on campus to study for this exam. A roommate noted that Stephanie was taking a nap around 3 p.m. on Sunday. Now, this Sheraton was 5 miles from campus. Sunday evening, Stephanie paid a visit to her parents' hotel room. Now, it's been reported, I found conflicting stories about this, Dylan. It's been reported that Bill called Stephanie and requested she come to the hotel. But then I've also read other reports that this might have been a planned visit, that Stephanie was going back at a certain time.
She already knew she was supposed to go back.
Yeah.
Supposed to go back.
Right. However, Julianne Malley, Stephanie's roommate, was kind of starting to worry because she was under the impression that Stephanie wasn't going to be gone very long. to the hotel to visit her parents or whatever, because Stephanie had this big chemistry test. She'd been studying for it. And also Stephanie had left her textbook open on her desk in the dorm room.
Like she was in the middle of her work and she was going to come straight back to it.
Right. So when she didn't return, her friends worried about her. And by the way, her roommate, there's like a suite style dorm room. So there's like 2 rooms kind of connected with a bathroom. They have like a suite style. A lot of folks know what that means. And the 4 of the girls that lived in this room were very close. Like they were all besties. So they're kind of all in each other's business and they know how important this test is. So they're kind of worried about what's happening.
Okay. You reckon that got its name, that style of room, because like long ago, some dude walked in and was like, sweet room, bro.
Yes, Dylan.
Okay.
Exactly.
That was a stupid joke. I'm ashamed.
Was that a joke or was that just Dylan?
Oh, I don't know. That could be history. I mean, that could be for real. We don't know it's not. I mean, honestly.
Sweet joke, Dylan.
Yeah, bro. All right, moving on.
Dylan, now, here's a historic lesson for you. Sometimes they say silence is golden.
Yeah, I've never understood that phrase.
I know that's never occurred to you.
Okay.
So Mally called the Sheraton and Bill answered the telephone. He told Mally that Stephanie would be spending the night with her family. Later, Mally's father would tell the press that Julianne, Mally thought that Bill sounded odd on the phone. Like she'd spoken to him in the past. And she said he just didn't sound right.
Oh, okay.
So around 3 p.m. on Monday, when the Parente family had not checked out of their hotel room, an employee went to the room on the 10th floor with a pass key. Upon entering the room, the employee dialed 911 and said, quote, "We have a dead body in one of our rooms."
Damn.
When the dispatcher asked any idea how this might have happened, the employee stated in a calm tone that he had not gone further into the room, and the assumption was based on what he had seen from the front door, or from the door.
And they're calm?
Yes.
That's a bit strange, right?
Well, I don't know, Dylan. Everybody probably handles finding what looks like a murder scene in a different manner.
Yeah.
He's an employee there. He don't know these people. He don't know who this is. It's not like he has an emotional connection to these folks.
Okay. Let me find out you're just walking by. Oh, there's a dead body. Wow.
Well, and he could be in shock.
That's true.
Or I'm sure when you work in a hotel, you probably find all kinds of shit. This might have not been the first fucking dead body you found, Dylan. I don't know.
He might have worked in motels before he worked at this hotel.
I like that. This is the detail that bothers you so, is that he was calm.
So, you might have seen blood-stained mattresses and everything before in his work career, right?
Man, I've known people who've worked in hotels, and they have told me some of the craziest shit that has been left behind in the room, stuff they found.
I think people just do weird stuff in hotels.
Yeah. People are way too comfortable in a hotel room. This is why I don't want to stay in hotels, because I'm totally weirded out about the germs and what weird shit people are doing in there.
I'm telling you, I haven't rested well in a hotel since years ago, that 60 Minutes report about how there's freaking spooge everywhere, and blood, and how they don't wash the sheets and the comforters and I know it changes by degrees. Sometimes you get a real clean one. I can't. The fact the remote is like the most disgusting thing, and I'm always going like, hey, flip the TV on, see what the channels look like, and just what I've exposed myself to over the years, I just can't let it go. And every time we stay in one, I don't sleep very good.
I don't either. I don't even want to make coffee in the pot because I'm automatically assuming that some weirdo is like rubbing their balls on the coffee pot or something.
Or cooking crack in the coffee pot or something.
I don't know.
They're going to get some weird chemical poisoning.
So inside the room, it was total carnage. Betty Parente and her 2 daughters were laid out side by side on a king-size bed. Autopsies would reveal that they had been bludgeoned, then asphyxiated, possibly with a pillow held over their faces.
That's brutal.
William Parente was also dead. He was found lying in the bathroom, dead from self-inflicted knife wounds. Betty was killed first, followed by Catherine. Bill then spent hours in the hotel room with his dead these dead family members with the bodies before heading out to the Towson Center Mall, where he purchased a knife set from a Crate and Barrel store. Putting the pieces together, investigators constructed a picture of a shocking murder-suicide. Digging deep into Bill's financial dealings, he was a man facing ruin, public disgrace, and likely prison time. As his world crashed down, Bill had chosen to take his wife and daughters with him. It seemed Bill had killed Betty first, possibly sending Catherine out on an errand while he killed her. Upon Catherine's return, then Bill took her life. 19-year-old Stephanie had no idea what was in store for her when she walked into an ambush. It was theorized by law enforcement that Stephanie was instantly attacked the moment she entered the room. Bill had hit her with some kind of heavy object, then proceeded to asphyxiate her.
I can't wrap my head around this mindset ever. It never makes any sense to me. And oftentimes you hear that they must have done one family member at a time, obviously, and kind of as they came home from school and work and things like that. And just the fact that you can take it's not a snap decision or a brief moment, with these tragic endings. It's drawn out, and I just can't understand how in the world you could continue to murder your own family like this. It's a very strange phenomenon.
Well, and the fact this clearly is premeditated, and he's going to these pretty great lengths and taking this time to take them out to breakfast and visit.
Like having a last day or something with them. It's weird.
And then doing this in a hotel.
I don't know.
Where strangers are going to find. I mean, I don't know. All of that is very bizarre. And it's one of the reasons why I chose this case to cover.
Yeah.
I find these elements to be very unusual.
So a lot of times it is in the family home.
Yeah.
That's very true. That's actually a great point. And yeah, so your concern is disgrace and shame and all that and ruin for not only yourself but your family. But then you do this kind of very non-intimate thing in like just a random hotel room. So yeah, that is a very strange element to it.
And then you're sitting in the hotel room
waiting,
with these bodies,
waiting for the other one to come.
Hours.
Yeah,
your wife and your daughter. What are you just hanging out watching TV? I mean, it's really weird and disturbing.
It truly is.
It's also very disturbing to think that you might be a guest in a hotel and this is happening in the room next door and you're unawares.
Wow. I didn't even think about that, but I mean, that was likely, right?
There had to be other guests on this floor.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, how did no one hear the struggle? I'm sure there had to be some screaming.
Well, I mean, you're completely comfortable. You're there with your husband or your dad.
You're traveling, yeah.
I
was thinking the other guests. I'm like, you're traveling,
yeah, but I mean, you don't have your guard up, and you don't think anything's going to happen. So he strikes them with a heavy object, and then boom. So I guess it'd be fairly straightforward and clean, if you will, which is a cruel way to say it. But
you mean quick?
Quick, yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't clean.
No, I was going to say it doesn't sound like
strangulation and bludgeoning is not, but yeah.
Asphyxiation, like a pillow over the face. That's not really strangulation, baby.
Oh, well, either way, but I'm just saying it takes time. It takes minutes.
Well, it absolutely takes time. And again, that's why I'm wondering why their other guests weren't hearing this.
I try to ignore thumps and noises when I'm in a hotel room because I don't want to imagine what might be happening next door.
Have you ever been in a room where the folks next to you
having loud sex?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Have you?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Like, yeah, give it to me, Daddy.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Like the headboard banging the wall?
Yeah. So when I was in the reserves, they would put us up in hotel for the reserve weekends, like our, where we drilled. We didn't have like barracks or anything.
Right.
So we stayed in a hotel for the weekend, and I remember one night going to bed, and my roommate and I were just like, what the hell? Because the people next door were having really loud sex for a long time. And after a while, we were just like, give that thing a break. Gosh,
finish already.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah, that seems like a very kind of disrespectful thing to do because you know that I guess people are into that.
Maybe they want you to hear.
Yeah, because I mean, I would be like weirded out that people might be hearing me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, honey, I know you got your little hang-ups. It's really cute.
I think it's weird. I mean, I guess you can do what you want, whatever gets your jollies off, but you shouldn't interfere with other people.
Okay.
In pursuit of said jollies.
There you go. So it turns out when the reports were made to the New York Attorney General, the FBI took an interest in the potential Ponzi scheme. Parente was in deep financial trouble, facing fraud charges that amounted to nearly $20 million.
Wow.
One investor had taken a hit for $1.5 million, and there were many others who had losses in the $500,000 range. Still a lot of money.
And when these go down, more times than not, there's just all the money's gone. All the money's gone. A lot of times these people who perpetuate the scheme are just financing their own lives out of it. You know, living lavish vacations, cars, houses, stuff like that. Given the appearance of success, but they're really just spending other people's money.
It seemed a man like Parente would rather take his life and the life of his wife and kids than sit in a courtroom facing individuals he had swindled. It's hard to imagine death is a preferable outcome to humiliation. News of the murder-suicide not only shocked the Loyola College campus, but also Garden City, Long Island. Neighbors who had known the family for years were at a loss for words. Quote, "The family were wonderful people. It's tough for the whole town." Bill and Betty had taken their daughters to Miami for Christmas and had stayed at the La Fontainebleau, which is like a pretty famous Miami hotel.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you know, and this is like neighbors saying, like, they just went on a vacation. They traveled. They, you know, were living this great life. Like, who would have known? And it's like, well, yeah, they're living a great life on other people's money.
Well, but he can't deal with facing up for what he did. So he would rather his family's last moments be being attacked and murdered by him. I mean, the fear and confusion that they must have been feeling. That doesn't really jive for me. It's honestly very cowardly. It's a very cowardly way to handle this. And taking your own life, which I don't condone, obviously, but that literally is your choice. And I, you know, just to think that people ever feel that desperate for any reason makes me sad. But thinking that you need to take your whole family with you, I don't know. That's a whole nother level of desperation. And, but I guess if
cruelty,
I guess if it's the narcissism,
yeah,
it's if I can't, I don't even want them to hear about this thing that I did. I would rather, you know, inflict this cruelty on them instead of them just knowing what I've been up to. It's very strange.
The couple had only recently seen South Pacific on Broadway. I mean, to everyone, it seemed that up until that day in April, the Parentes were living life as normal. There was no indication that Bill was having any kind of problem or even considering something like this.
Right, but the entire time he knows what's going on. It's weighing on him.
Betty's best friend, Marianne Quinn, told the press that Bill had been depressed recently since losing his mother the year before, and the anniversary of her death was only a few days before the hotel room tragedy. The Parentes were a picture-perfect family, and Bill was a family man. He never spent nights away from his wife or children, no matter how busy he was with work. For Bill and Betty, their lives revolved around Stephanie and Catherine. I mean, it was just unfathomable that this happened. One thing we have learned over the years about family annihilators is they tend to be narcissists. Could Bill not imagine his wife and children leading productive, happy lives without him? Or was Bill suffering from depression and couldn't bear to embarrass his family? So this case was one of 2 familicides in Maryland in less than a week. The other one was that of Christopher Wood of Middletown, which occurred on April 16th. The 2 events, having been in such close chronological and geographic proximity, highlighted in the media the topic of familicide and suicide resulting from economic troubles at this time. So the funeral service for William Parente was separate from that of the remaining family members. Betty, Stephanie, and Catherine's funeral was held at their church, St. Joseph Roman Catholic Church in Garden City. Bill's relatives had him cremated without a funeral. Betty's cousin, Joseph Mazzarella, a funeral director, took care of the mother and daughters. When Bill's family offered to pay for burial plots, Mazzarella refused, stating that he would take care of his family. In the aftermath, complicated estate issues followed as the Parentes had at least $500,000 in assets. So Joseph Mazzarella filed lawsuits to retain the inheritance on behalf of Betty and the girls. Since Bill had murdered his family, he and his beneficiaries should not be allowed to inherit belongings, according to this lawsuit.
Do you agree with that?
Well, interestingly enough, Dylan, I learned that in a situation like this, a murder-suicide, it does matter who was killed first.
Really?
Yeah, so the fact that Betty was killed first meant that her daughters immediately inherited her assets. So,
in spirit, even if the legal paperwork wasn't done.
Right.
Right.
So then it automatically went to the daughters, and then they, of course, don't have like children to pass it on to.
Right.
So then it would immediately go to Bill, who's dead at this point.
Okay.
So then it would go out to like first, cousins, aunts, uncles, that kind of thing. I mean, it's a very strange. Again, I said it's a complicated estate issue. So I also learned this, that life insurance does typically pay out for suicide as long as the policy is older than 3 years.
Oh.
And since Bill had no remaining immediate family, his first cousins could potentially receive money. But in the end, I think that Mazzarelli was able to retain his family's portion of the inheritance, and by law it couldn't go to Bill's beneficiaries because of the way New York law was written.
Okay, and I'm surprised that all of it wasn't frozen because of the scheme.
Well, that's what I don't understand either.
I guess because it wasn't, it wasn't, the scheme wasn't known, and it wasn't.
Well, I guess maybe
prosecuted.
assets that were purchased before the scheme began, because
Right.
it sounds like they bought their home years before.
Okay.
I mean, so I guess you have to take those things into consideration.
Yeah,
I said, it's pretty complicated, and there was a lot more. I was just trying to give everybody a simplistic breakdown of these issues. But yeah, we could probably talk about this for an hour, but we're not gonna.
Oh, wow.
Now, what I find interesting, Dylan, is that men like Bill Parente rarely have any track record of domestic violence or child abuse. But many family annihilators are over enmeshed with their families, and they're so wrapped up in being a husband and a father and a dad that it's almost like they can't separate themselves from their families.
Okay, that makes sense. And also,
which also I think maybe could be some narcissism.
Well, it's like if I kill myself, they're not going to make it because I'm so cool. And I'm the reason for the season. I'm so important. I'm the head of this family.
I'm too sexy for my family. Too sexy for my family. Oh, sorry.
And they can't imagine, like you said, their family moving on with their life and actually being able to make it without them. So I guess that in their mind makes sense that I should just take us all out instead of just myself.
This is just such a strange case. And it's so deeply sad.
It's also so really scary
for Betty and these children.
I mean, the one person in their life they all, I'm sure, trusted and looked to for support and loved. Sound like they had a loving family. Is the one who attacked them in their last moments. So I don't know. I don't know how. That's really sad and scary to think about.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sitting down to discuss this case.
Damn it, Bill.
Dylan.
You should have just, worked your job and stuff. And not had the scheme. And you wouldn't have had all this financial pressure. See, if you hadn't have done some dumb shit, you wouldn't have to worry about it coming out. I mean, that's the rules I live by.
Honey, you do dumb shit all the time.
No, but
your dumb shit's little dumb shit.
It's little dumb shit, and it comes out instantly. There's nothing... There's no big scheme you don't know about. That sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not doing that.
I know. Nobody can ever accuse Dylan of doing a lot of work.
No, I'll work. But I don't want to overcomplicate things because it's not necessary. That's like, you've asked me before, like, would you have like 2 families? I'm like, what? No. Are you kidding me?
Dylan's like, I don't even like the family I have.
No, I do like my family, but I'm just saying, I got to have.
Like, get away from me,
I got to do double this stuff? No, I don't think so. It's like having multiple chicks. I just got one chick.
You mean like a little baby yellow bird? Like a little fuzzy chick?
I mean side pieces. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think you're in love with that girl you work with.
You're stupid. Oh, this is ridiculous.
He's got a work girlfriend.
I do not have a work wife or girlfriend.
I don't believe it.
Well, you can say what you want.
You talk about her a lot.
I do. Okay, because it's the one contact in the office that helps us people on the floor.
Yeah, it's always the way you talk about how she's so helpful. I'm like, cool. Maybe she can come over here and help do your laundry then.
No,
how about that?
No, baby. You do it. You do it the best.
I really just love to give you a hard time.
You do it the best.
I know in my heart that you would never cheat. And not because I think you're a super loyal husband or anything. But just
really?
But just because you're fucking lazy. Like you just admitted that you're so lazy. And I know this about you.
Well, I love you.
And
though.
I know it keeps you faithful because you don't want to have to deal with somebody else. And you're weird and you have all these little like strange hangups about things. And I'm just like, some other woman can deal with all your she can have you, bud, because you know what, you're high maintenance. You're a lot.
I'm not high maintenance.
You're like a lot to handle.
But that's one of the sweetest things anyone's ever said to me, and I love you for that. No, but look, I would never.
I love your little lazy ass too.
I'm not lazy.
Okay.
So I'm not lazy. I'm just, I like things a certain way.
Honey, if I would let you, you would like melt into the couch.
Yeah, I'm thinking about watching the Penguin series after we get done recording.
Yeah, I know. I can see her over there looking sleepy right now.
It's because I'm tired, dude.
Ready to take a nap.
Blue collar hours.
You slept like 100 hours this weekend.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter that you had a coma. Like you took a 14-hour sleep on Saturday.
That was catching up from the week before when I was deprived all week. See what I'm saying? It's blue collar life. Hashtag ask somebody. I'm getting tired.
I run on way less hours than you do.
That's just because your brain never lets you sleep.
Yeah, I know.
You're an insomniac.
Yeah, I know.
That's the definition.
And I'm like ready to go. Let's party. Let's do it.
All right. Thank you for that, Heather. That was, I got to say, that was a bit of a different story. We hadn't discussed the phenomenon of familicide. Is that what that is?
No, we have had cases in the past.
No, I mean, in a while.
It's been a minute.
No, it's been a minute.
But this one was just so strange. I mean, just the fact he was willing to take his family out of state. He's still in he's in financial ruin, right? But he's still spending money.
Right.
Staying at the Sheridan.
Yeah.
Eating out of, these meals.
It's all about
He goes to buy knives. He goes to Crate and Barrel. It's not like he's going to buy the discounted knives at the dollar store.
No, he had the last of these other people's assets, probably. And that he was just living it up.
And then take his family all the way to Maryland. I mean,
go to where their daughter's at in school.
Inconvenient. You're going to have, I would be thinking about things like they're going to have to ship our bodies back to New York. It's really inconvenient for the people at the hotel who have to clean this mess up.
I guess. See, women actually think about that.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking, if women are family annihilators, they're much more considerate and thoughtful. Because you'd be thinking about who's going to clean up this house.
No, women do think about that when it comes to, unfortunately, suicide. And they think about...
Not that I'm going to family annihilate or anything.
Who's going to have to deal with the aftermath. And it actually proves itself in the methods used. And honestly, if anyone out there is having any deep, deep depressions or thoughts, there's plenty of help out there. You can reach out to me. Because I'm not even playing. Because I've dealt with a really horrible depression. And I've seen a lot of mental illnesses in my family and stuff. And you know what? That's not the answer. It seems like the answer, but it's not. It never is. Unless you're a werewolf.
Thank you for that.
And if you're a werewolf, you you don't want to make it to the next full moon.
Did you say a werewolf?
A werewolf. What? It's you're going to kill people when the full moon comes up. Innocent people. So,
That's still not a good reason.
Chain yourself to a tree.
If I'm a werewolf, I'm still not going to take myself out.
No, but
that's all the more reason to stay alive.
What, you think it's cool to be a werewolf
yeah.
and kill people?
I mean, I'm going to prey on some motherfuckers.
God. Are you going to prey on?
I got a list.
Where are you going to prey on bad people?
I got a Steve Buscemi list in Billy Madison.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's here's my werewolf dream list.
You're going to be like the Dexter of werewolves. Did we just make a movie franchise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If my enemies start showing up with their necks ripped out, you'll know it was me.
That's right.
Ow!
All right.
Okay.
All right. And on that note, I'm out of here.
Ow! Bye, Dylan.
Bye.